Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. So today we are back with a new video for our Gen AI playlist series which is on AI agents. So in this video we're going to be discussing about what is an AI agent, what are different AI agent components that you have to keep in mind whenever you are building an AI agent, whether in a software which is providing you a declarative way of declaring an agent or you are creating those agents programmatically. So whichever way you are using, what all components of an AI agent you have to keep in mind for making an AI agent autonomous and successful as well for you in long term. So without further ado, let's get into the video and the topics that we need to cover. So I have created a diagram here for all of you, which is related to single AI agent, how it works, and what kind of things it goes through whenever you ask it a question. The AI agent, which in question right now we are discussing, is it can be anywhere. It can be your GPT, it can be your Claude code, it can be your any other tool as well. Or you would have created this agent programmatically as well. So it can be any of the scenario. Wherever you create the AI agent, the definition, the components inside it remains the same, irrespective of the platform you are building on. So let's see what happens when a user requests to an agent about a certain task. So let's say I am a user, I go to a platform, I say that I want so and so things. Let's say I want a website to be created, or I'm talking to a customer support agent, or I am talking to a shopping profile agent, or I am talking to some an agent who is actually responsible for planning my next meeting. So I'm talking to any one of them. So as a user, I'll request to my agent or my application. So when you think of an AI agent, first thing we have to keep in mind that whenever we are building an agent, don't think that you have to build a chatbot only. There is a misconception in the market that if you are creating an agent, it can be or it mostly has to be a chatbot, which can be for different domains, for customer support, for shopping assistance, as I mentioned, meeting profile, etc. So it needs not to be a chatbot only. So you can give your preferences in a form or something, you can save it in your tool, and your tool will have a background agent which will actually read your profiles information and execute the tasks which you want that agent to execute as well autonomously without interacting via chatbot. That is also a possibility of an AI agent. Okay, so we have to think about other ways of interaction with the user whenever we are creating an AI agent, not only with respect to chatbot itself. Now, when I send request to an AI agent, or let's say when AI agent gets triggered based on my request, there is an orchestrator which actually is a, I would say, a pattern inside the AI agents, or it's a pattern inside the system designs as well. You might have seen other places as well if you are a developer. The orchestrator basically is a manager who is actually managing the entire interaction with the different tools, with the different interfaces to get your data, to talk to different interfaces, get their output, evaluate them, and at the same time take some actions. So this is what entire thing an orchestrator is watching or managing. Apart from this, it actually controls the flow, like where it has to go from A to B. If it has to go from A to C, it has to route through A to B to C. So that's what the orchestrator watches, that interaction as well. So not only watches, it actually can enforce a limit, it actually can add some security steps in between as well. So it can do a lot of things, so we can explore that separately as well. But this is what the orchestrator part comes in play, and this is a core part whenever you are defining any AI agent. Orchestrator should be there to understand the core requests. Now, once we move to the from the orchestrator, so orchestrator sees the request, and it basically goes and gathers the data, and it basically, or it directly goes to LLM for any reasoning. So let's say I make a request for trip planning. So the orchestrator will say that if it doesn't have to gather any data, it will directly go to LLM. Before going to LLM, if it doesn't have to gather any data, it will directly go to LLM. LLM will actually say that you do this thing, you execute this so and so tool, or it will say don't execute anything, this is the final answer. So LLM will say two things. So that's where need a tool, yes or no. If it needs a tool, it will have a two layer interaction. The agent will have a two layer interaction where it will call the relevant tools. Let's say I am saying I want to plan a trip for, let's say, XYZ country. Then the LLM will say that you call this ABC tool, which will give you required information for that maybe location. So you will invoke that tool. That tool can be a separate application which is hosted on some other server. You will be actually calling that maybe via API or maybe via some other way mechanism. So you can call that, or you can have the MCP server connection as well. So it's up to the interaction that you want to make. That's where the tool layer will come into play. Now once the tool has executed it, and then it will validate. So there is actually two things we need to be very careful about, which I haven't highlighted yet, which are policy or guardrail layer and the sandbox execution. Now, whenever you are executing or talking to any an external system, which is via tool layer, you have to execute a tool. Let's say you have to execute a curl command for API calls. You have to call an MCP server. You have to execute some command line. You have to execute some command or something. So you may need sandbox, or you may need a secure environment where an agent should execute those stuff on its own and should not going outside that boundary to be safer. So remember, this is very important, and this is actually very important area in today's world: security and the execution outside the boundaries. So you need two things: sandboxing and the policy and the guardrail layer. So this is very important. So when you ask it to execute a tool, it cares about these two things: whether I am allowed to execute this tool, it checks the policy, it checks the guardrails. So based on that evaluation, if it says yes, then it will go to sandbox environment and execute the tools or the required tooling informations as well. Now once the result is done, the tool has been executed, the result goes back to the orchestrator. Orchestrator sees that this is the result, this is what I can do on top of it, and sees that whether I need to call now LLM again. So it calls the LLM, and then LLM responds back with yes or no again, and that's where the loop keeps on going on until the final answer is ready for you. That's where when you ask a query, you get a response. So there is background, all these things are happening in an AI agent. There are some of the things which I haven't mentioned about, like monitoring in detail, security in detail, how it happens, how to monitor your agents, like if they are going from A to B to C system, how to monitor them, how to autonomously stop them. So there are a lot of things. But this is actually the basic structure of an AI agent, how as a developer, how as a non-technical person, wherever you are creating an agent, always keep these things in mind. Apart from these things, there is a memory concept. So where does memory concept fit in? Now let's say you asked for a trip today, and you got some references, you got a plan ready. Now you are, let's say, book the tickets and all that stuff is done. You have done the trip also. Now next time you come back again, you ask like, I want to plan another trip now. So it will remember the preferences what you selected last time. You selected that I want a beachside location, or I want sport activities as well. So it remember all these things, right? So whenever you ask next time, plan my next trip, so it will say that this is the weather, and this is where these locations will be good for you based on your last selection. Do you want to update your preference or something like that? So it will keep on remembering it. Now this is actually a long term memory which you store somewhere, like your preferences, your selections, your thoughts, which you wanna recapitulate next time when you interact with it. This is a long-term memory. Now, when you are interacting with an agent, you are planning your trips, you are asking for different locations, you are recalibrating your outputs or something like that. So it's actually managing your short-term memory in the same execution. So let's say you started with I want to plan a trip to Bali, and when you go down the execution, you may tell that, hey, I don't want to go to Bali, I want to go to some other location or something. I want have this preference or so on. So then it can refer back to the previous interactions or the previous messages that you sent in the same chat, that this is what you mentioned, now you are saying this, would you like to say that this is your preferred thing, something like that. So that's where short term memory also comes into play. So that's where these components are very important whenever you are designing an AI agent. So always think about these on top of it. So that's about for the today's video. We'll come back soon with the next content of multi-agent systems also soon. And till then, uh, keep liking our content. If you like our content, share as well. Do comment for the next videos that you want, and at the same time, do comment your suggestions and improvements that you want. Thank you. Have a nice day.